There tends to be a lot of confusion around this word mentoring and the other word coaching. There's also a consulting is another term that gets used, and there's a fourth word that's used that's called advisory. Now, there's a lot of overlap, there's a lot of confusion for obvious reasons. It's important to understand the differences between these, and at least from my perspective, the way I like to think about each of these terms. And I like to take an example, let's say, from the Mahabharata about what's the difference between each one of these. If you take the role of a consultant, right? A consultant would be a person who operates on a very clearly defined job with a clearly defined timeline, with a clearly defined set of deliverables. And then the consultant, for example, if you were to come and you say, you know what, I need to redo my IT system, I need to do my website. So you call a consulting company who will come in, who will design your web pages, will design the graphics, will lay out your content architecture, etc., etc. It's a very clearly defined issue, defined budget, defined timeline, defined deliverables. The second is the role of an advisor. Here the problem is not that well defined. The problem is kind of a little vague, but at the same time it is an important issue. For example, what should my marketing strategy be? What should my hiring strategy be? What should the fundraising strategy be? How should I go about forming partnerships? So that's based on advice, because there is no objective answer to that question. And finally, you have a mentor. A mentor actually is kind of like a supra body or a supra intervention, where it also deals with the role of the individual, namely the CEO or the rest of the management team. You take the case of the advisory example of again, I'll take another example from the Mahabharata. The question was, how do I vanquish Bhishma? Bhishma could never die, he could never be vanquished, he could die at a time of his choosing. There again, Krishna gives the advice saying that, look, this was the background. Bhishma would never fight a woman, and hence you got a Shikhandi in front, and standing behind whom Arjuna fired and essentially then vanquished Bhishma. So that was the second example of how an advisory thing operates. In the case of a mentor, Arjuna is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He doesn't want to fight his cousins and is asking the question, what is all this for? Why am I doing this? And is it really worth it? And it is that conversation is when Krishna explains to him the importance of actually fighting for dharma. And that is what a great mentor is able to do, making the person see the higher order objective. And that is what is the job of a mentor, essentially to motivate the CEO to rise above the immediate troubles and dig deep into himself or herself to find resources and strength to be able to effect change or to take action. And every CEO has gone through this phase where they're asking, is this all worth it? Why am I doing this? What is the meaning of facing so much of tension with my team, with the investors, with the market, all of that? So there's a huge amount of what I would call the dharma sankata piece that the mentor helps the CEO overcome. So that is how I like to see the continuum between a consultant, an advisor, and a mentor. And therefore, in today's world, given there's so much of social changes taking place, enormous pressures on businesses, there are market conditions, expectations from the team, from the family, all kinds of changes happening, technology, media, etc., etc. Therefore, it is not easy for a young CEO of a startup to be able to deal with all of these things. And therefore, it's very important for them to reach out to and seek the help and counsel of those who have walked that path before, those who have had the experience that they can share and also be a sounding board for the CEO to take advantage of. As long as there's a lot of self-awareness, as long as the CEO understands the difference between the consulting role, the advisory role, and the mentoring role, I think it'll work out well for everybody involved. And it's important, therefore, to have the trust. It's important to be open. It's important to be able to have an honest conversation, and it's important to set the right expectations. So these are some of the prerequisites and some of the expectations that need to be internalized, both within the mentor as well as in the entrepreneurial team, for this to be a successful partnership.